market update. My name is K Kim with the Traders Club. Today's July 27th, 2018, Friday. As I record this video, market should be open another 2 hours or so. So you should be seeing some flashing lights on your left. I hope you guys had a good week this week, trading, investing, managing, and just enjoying the summer, right? We got a couple more days in the July trading sessions here. We got today and 2 more days next week. Well, today we're going to be looking at Spider, and I do want to kind of go over some large tech companies here. First, let's talk about Apple, AMD, Intel, Twitter, Tesla, Facebook, QCOM, NVDA, and we'll call it a day. Let's start with the Spider here first of all. Spider, here's a good news. Something that if you've been following me on Twitter and YouTube videos, and you know that I've been tracking gaps, right? The gaps. It's been very important for us. So I've been tracking gaps, and as of today, I have to say, I'm happy to report to you guys that the downside gaps, the downside bearish gaps, they are all completely filled. And this is something that I've been talking about for months now, that bulls need to get up and kill these downside selling pressure, right? As of today, this gap was very important gap. That gap, this February gap has been open, right? Nearly 4 or 5 months. And last time when bulls got up to fill that gap, they failed. They were not able to fill it. Things got really difficult. Ever since then, bulls really worked this way up, cultivating higher lows and higher highs, which we've been talking about. Not only has it been cultivating higher lows and higher highs, it has been building base. We also been talking about. And then finally, right? Finally, that gap was filled during late this month, last couple weeks here. That gap was filled, the downside gap. And the remaining gap was this gap right here. That gap is finally filled on Wednesday, right? Today's Friday, so Thursday and Wednesday that got filled. A lot of times when these gap gets filled, we talked about it becomes instant resistance. When the downside gap gets filled, it becomes instant resistance. When upside gap gets filled, it becomes instant support. So that's kind of what we're seeing, that pullback here. But what's really important about this whole thing is that I can't even put a box here. I want you to pay attention to this. First of all, you can see that bears, only thing that bears really had was that lower high, right? They can argue that this is a high and this is a lower high, right? And this is another lower high. So this is what the bears were arguing. Bears are arguing that we got the lower highs in place. Therefore, there's inauguration of a downtrend. Well, the thing about it is, this is something that I've been talking about since February and March and April, but they don't have lower lows. This is an equal lows. Definition of downtrend is lower highs and lower lows. We didn't have lower lows. We had equal lows. So it was more of kind of a consolidational phase versus a downtrend commencement, right? We saw the huge bullish move, right? And then we pulled back and we kind of built this kind of a consolidation, resting, congestion, whatever you want to call it, right? Kind of a resting period or resuming pattern, whatever it was part of kind of a digestion after a big move. And bears really never cultivated lower low. It was equal. What they really needed to do was maybe come down, go up, and then get down, make a new low. Then that would have been a warning signal, at least for the bulls, right? But that didn't happen. We were able to cultivate equal low. Bulls really protected that level, made sure that we didn't get lower low. That's the level you can see that we are coinciding with the 200 SMA that I've been tracking, right? So if you can look at this, you can see that we built that base. And while we're building that base, after this equal low, so what happened was bulls been slowly cultivating. This is where nobody was talking about. And I've been telling you guys what was going on? Slowly cultivating what? Higher lows and higher highs. You see that? Slowly cultivated. The whole time bears are calling for a crash. All these different things happening, right? Everybody's always so dramatic about where we're going, right? But slowly, see, they forgot. They dismiss these things. And this is the reason why it doesn't matter where we're at. You know what I'm saying? If the bears thought that the stock was up way too much in 2015 and 2016, well, they're going to think the stock is up too much in 2017. If they thought the stocks were up too much in 2017, well, they're going to think that it was too much in 2018. If they thought that stock is up too much in 2018, they're going to think the stock is up too much in 2019. And they thought that stocks were up too much in 2019, they're going to think the stocks are up too much in 2020. This is the reason why, guys. When the market gets in an uptrend, do you really think that everybody gets rich? No. Not everybody gets rich. Maybe they'll act like they're rich on social media, but not everybody gets rich. Only remnant, small group of people who know what they're doing are getting rich off of this. Not many people are. Most retail traders know. 90% plus retail traders know. They're always fearful. If they thought the stocks were up too much in 2016, it's always too much. They ain't gonna go long here. Even if they go long, they're not gonna go full on bullish. You see what I'm saying? But besides from that, as you can see on Spider, what do we have now? Only thing that bears had was that lower high. Bears lost their ground today or this week. Lost their ground because we just cultivated higher high, breaking out of this space. I'm not saying that just because we broke out, it's not going to come back in. It could come back in. But cultivation is important. We've been talking about cultivation for months here, right? When everybody was calling for a crash, I've been calling for this cultivation. I've been calling for this base, consolidation, digestion, continuation pattern, whatever you want to call it, right? And I've been buying dips. I've been fiercely buying these dips, not just on indices, but individual stocks. I'm full on bullish ever since February and April. Funny thing is that so many people, so many groups were like, oh yeah, I'm in cash, I'm in cash, I'm in cash. Well, my net short position is highest ever. Do you know that I was most cashed here? Did you know that? I don't know if you've been following me. Did you know that the most I've ever been in cash was here when this happened? And then I started buying the dips hard in these levels. And ever so slightly, bulls made its way up. We finally cultivated new highs. This is a victory from the bulls because they killed this downside selling pressures. So there's no more downside gaps. However, bulls got what? Bulls have these two upside gaps. And I talked about last market update video that I think this time around we're gonna hold this upside gap, right? And we held that, we got up, we filled this gap. This is a given, guys. After the gap gets filled, more often than not, it's gonna act as resistance. Kind of happened right here too. We kind of fill that gap and we pull back for about 4 days. Remember that? So we're pulling back today. Yeah. So let's see. I think we're gonna hold these two gaps. But if the good things about these two gaps are because if those gap gets filled, it's gonna act as support. So we have higher lows, as you can see here. We got the 100 SMA rising now, right? 100 SMA has been kind of flattening out for a while. Right here, rising. 200 SMA has been rising. We got 20, 50, they're all rising. Again, bears flopped. Again, they got nothing at this point. They got nothing. Now that we cultivated higher high here, buyers are starting to gain control, looking at things intermediate term now. Usually I would say primary term we're uptrend, major primary term we're uptrend. Intermediate term, I would kind of say maybe we're neutral, because intermediate term we're actually sideways, right? I couldn't really quite say that we're in an intermediate term uptrend, right? I would say minor to intermediate term uptrend, but intermediate term we're actually sideways. We're moving sideways. You can see for months, since January till now, we've been moving sideways. I can now say that intermediate term we're trending. Why? Because now we got higher high there. That was that low. That was that significant low. That was that low. And buyers reclaimed that today or this week. Reclaimed it. And we cultivated another higher high. This is a good news. This is good news for the bulls. This is good news for investors. You see? And those are my targets this year. 300 for sure, I think we're going to get to this year. If things are really good, maybe 310. But yeah, let's see how he plays out. Let's see if we can respect these levels. 278-ish. 220 EMA in that vicinity. Worst case scenario, this thing come all the way down, fill this gap, retest the 100 SMA. Right? If the market really is feeling like it really wants to trap bears once again, what it might want to do, it will come all the way down, even break below this support right there, because everybody's going to be looking at this support, right? So what a newbie is going to do, what they're going to do is that they're going to kind of start chasing it at the top, and they say, well, I'm gonna draw this trend to the upside, right? This uptrend support, and I'm going to place my stop just below it. And then market knows where the stops are, and then it's going to come down, take those stops. And when that happens, I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not, we'll track it. We'll talk about it next week, and we'll follow up on it. But if that happens, that's what it could do. It could. That's probably the worst case scenario. It could trap a lot of people. A lot of shorts are going to come back in, and then we could see something like that. Or we maybe just hold this level, and we just go right back up and make new all-time high. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays out next week. Let's go to Apple here. Apple, I don't have any positions on Apple. My entries were like 176, never got to that level. And as you guys know, if I don't get my trigger, I don't chase ever. I don't chase ever. But we got what's going on is that just we still kind of doing this. Still a little bit of that, a little bit of bearish divergence here. Not a huge deal, and they're gonna say this is double top. Double top is not gonna be confirmed until we get 182. If this thing actually comes down and start breaking below it, then it might come down. I'm not saying it's going to. Let's say if it does, it might come down and challenge this gap at 175. And if it does do that, to come about 175 to challenge this gap, that's when I'll be thinking about buying some. Again, in my time frame. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys are much short term, you bought it there, close out there, that's your short term strategy, but that's not how I trade, right? Let's say this thing came all the way down and I bought it around 175, and this thing started going up. My target is in like 200. My target is like 220. So I got so much bigger leniency in my stop, and I hold much longer, and my target is much higher. But I mean, as of today, you have to give benefit of doubt to the buyers on Apple. So I'm not saying that that's it's gonna come down like that. I'm just saying if it does, some of those levels, it could even come down and maybe hit this uptrend support. 175, I'll be interested going long. If not, I will not chase it. As of today, I want to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers. Short-term traders, 20 MA, 50 MA, 100 SMA, those are the level to track for short-term support. AMD finally got up here. Look at this. This just epic short squeeze. Look at this thing. This is just beautiful. Look at that, came down. Just trapped everybody, longs and shorts, and just went straight up. Got back up here. This This is a gap from back in 2007. That gap has been fully filled. So you can see how even AMD is now filling downside gaps. So kill this downside pressure from 2007. So you can see how it is acting as resistance. I am actually, as of today, all out of my call positions that I entered here. I'm holding all of my shares, but I closed out all my calls today. But I am holding full shares there. I think we're gonna see pullback now that that gap has been filled. But what I don't know is, are we gonna pull back to like 1546 or like 16 or re-challenge this gap here? Or are we gonna consolidate? I don't know. Nobody does. I don't know. I don't know how that's why I wanna see how it plays out. We may come down to challenge this gap, 1721, or maybe even fill it. I'm not sure, but you know, when you look at things monthly, it's starting to look very good here. You can see that box, prior resistance, new support, months of consolidation. Looks like a bull flag or bull pennant, got up, consolidated, continuing here. I think AMD could get to 30s, you know, long-term target. So very, very good signal here. Filling this gap is a very, very good thing because it's killing that downside selling pressure. But we're seeing that's what happens. The gap gets filled. It acts as instant resistance. We're seeing the pullback there. Intel, I'm holding everything. I'm holding everything that I've gone long since 35s here. Having added on the dips. This is, like I said, what have I been preaching to you guys about chasing? When you chase, you're gonna get burned, right? You start chasing up here, and this is what you get. Same thing when you're on Twitter. Look at that. This is exactly what I said. You're going to get burned. You chase, you're going to get burned. Remember what I said about that here up here. You chase it up here, you get lucky, that's great. But you know what? You're going to get burned. That's what happens. When public starts to get in, things always get hectic. It doesn't matter about earnings report or earnings numbers, whatever. I mean, it could be down only 2% or 3%, but instead it's down about 18%. Intel's down about 9%. Market is chasing those who chased it up here. I'm long since 1950s and 20s. My heaviest position since 1950s and 20s. I'm holding everything. I haven't closed out anything. Obviously, I closed out all my calls at the top here, in which I'm not just saying that now. I mean, obviously, if you go back, I talked about in my market update video that I closed out all my calls up here. But I'm holding full shares, and I'm actually watching to see where I can add more. See, when I see pullbacks, I look at it as opportunity. You know what I mean? Because I didn't chase this. Only people are freaking out right now is people who chase it up here. That's why you don't ever want to chase it. I'm long since 35s, man. So it's like, okay, came down. I want to see. And I close out all my calls up here, right? And I haven't gotten back in with calls. I've been adding a little bit shares here and here, but I haven't gotten back in with calls on Intel because I thought there's going to be a steeper pullback because I could tell people, a lot of these retail traders, man, they missed out on this move, right? They missed out on it. And then they start chasing it up here. And that's when things got really difficult. And the market, and it kind of made up higher, made up here. And then we pull back, and you can see it's completely pulling back. I can throw a Fibonacci there. Yeah, I mean, I'll be looking at some of those levels, like 45s. Some of those levels as a potentially adding back or somewhere here. I gotta watch a little bit more next week, but I'm preparing to buy more, add more shares, and maybe even buy more calls on Intel and Twitter. Intel and Twitter. So when you see this kind of a pullback after a steep uptrend, don't freak out. Only reason why if you're freaking out right now is because you chased it. So we're currently, let's see, there's a gap here. That downside gap is going to make things hectic. It's not gonna, it's not gonna go all-time high in a couple weeks or anything like that. It's gonna take its time, but we may see a little further decline there until it finds some stabilization somewhere. I'm not sure at this point. So we'll continue to watch that. Twitter, remember I talked about that. Oh yeah, man, that's a bull pennant, bro. Yeah. And then boom, just gaps down, right? Everybody missed out on this move. when this thing got up here, right? People chased it, got burned, and then it got up again. People chased it, getting burned again. This is what I was saying, what I've been saying. Don't ever chase it. Don't ever chase it. If it goes without you, then let it be. But if you didn't chase it, you say, well, okay, I wanted to go long, but I didn't. I'm glad I didn't. Now you start strategizing. Now you look at it and say, you know what? Okay, what are some good levels I can possibly go long, right? What are some of the levels that we can look at and possibly go long? So this is where you could strategize and see where you want to add your position, because that's what I'll be doing next week, next couple of weeks on Twitter. See if I can add more and buy more calls there, right? Because I was all out of my calls. So, and something that I talked about when I did an analysis on Twitter, this is a weekly chart of Twitter, I talked about how this prominent next resistance at 52 and 54. I bet everybody, remember I talked about this last time I did Twitter analysis to you guys? If you are avid watcher of my videos, you remember this. I said, everybody wants to chase it up here. They see where the next resistance is, and they want to see if they can get up here, and that's where their target is. And remember I said, I don't think we're going to get up there. I don't think we're going to get up there because market knows that's what everybody's thinking. I don't think everybody wants to get up there, right? They're chasing it. They hopefully that it will get to 53 and 54, right? Somewhere here. And I talked about, I don't think we're going to get up there because that's what everybody's looking at as the next target, right? 53, 55. And we didn't even have any resistance here as far as the technical is concerned. Just we stopped short in the middle, out of nowhere, and just tanked. Because people chased it. And the market is punishing them severely, right? But if you didn't chase it, then I think some of these levels, we're finding support here. So let's see if that gets hold. If that doesn't hold, we got that another support there. You can do your some Fibonacci here to there. See some of those levels. Look at your some short-term oscillators and stuff like that, and kind of strategize. But that's what I'll be doing next week. Let's go to Tesla. Tesla has continued to see weakness. What I kind of wanted to talk about Tesla again is we got this gap that is open. Actually, this gap is still open. And we're currently we're holding that, but it's a hectic situation here. We got those two supports, but you know when I go to monthly, that's that kind of looks a little bit ugly. But you know, if you're still got that formation of inverted head and shoulders, so we really want to hold. The worst case scenario is obviously hold these levels. I mean, bulls are not completely dead yet. I mean, it could come down and get right back up or something like that, but that gap has to be filled. That downside gap right here, that gap is open, and that's gonna make things hectic for short term to intermediate term bulls there. Facebook tanked. That's the gap there. But what I wanted to share with you guys on the monthly chart is this. Look at that. We got that higher high there on the price action. Well, we got this bearish divergence on the monthly. Look at that. That's pretty steep. Like price action made a higher high. You can see that there. And that's pretty steep there too. MACD, that's pretty steep. And RSI, that's pretty steep. And I don't know if it's gonna play out fully, but let's say if it does play out just full on bearish, right? Let's say this thing just completely tanks this thing. Possibly 120. I see for me. And I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen. It could very well just come here and then consolidate and then just get right back up. It could. For me, I won't want to go long on Facebook unless this thing comes down much steeper. But I don't think it will. Market is too bullish. I think sooner or later, the dip buyer is going to come in and it's going to bring it back up. But because of this huge gap, it's going to make things hectic. But I don't think it's going to come down to 120, 130. If it does, I will be interested in buying at the level. But I'm not saying it's going to. I don't think it will. But for some reason, like it did it, like it came down that much, it's a complete tank, then I'll be interested. Then I'll be interested. It would be nice to actually like, okay, so like that. It'd be nice to like come down, kind of trap. A lot of people are looking at this support, trap a lot of people and go back up. But I don't know. I don't think it will though. But if it does, I'll be waiting for it. But those bullish divergence on the monthly looks hectic there. Qualcomm had a lot of up and down shenanigan. But so far the gap is open. If we can keep this gap open on Qualcomm, right? If we can keep this gap open, sustain this earnings gap, right? Then I think Qualcomm is going to go higher, and I think it's going to go above 70, and we can make new all-time high and beyond, right? You trapped people right here. You can see right there, slightly, right? It actually first trapped everybody here. This is where it first trapped, right? That was a trap. See that? Boom, right? And there's another one. Boom. Got up there. So I actually like Qualcomm. I own Qualcomm. I've been accumulating shares. I've been trading call options up and downs, but I've been accumulating shares here. Added more shares. They added somewhere here. So I'm actually been positioning myself in this vicinity around 50s. So looks good there. One last one, NVDA, and they'll let you guys go. NVIDIA, same thing with like with Facebook. NVIDIA, I think. Yeah, you see that. Let me get rid of. So we got the higher highs going, and we have that lower high. We got that lower high. So again, I mean, if you've been a bull and you've been making money from NVIDIA, going long, I don't know, let's say you went long here and been, yeah, that's great. This is not a level I'll be buying NVIDIA. I won't be buying NVIDIA here, and I thought I'll just show you that, guys, that yeah, some of these monthly, weekly bearish divergences that are occurring. Sometimes it could occur for a while though, like it's grindy. It's not really clean, it's really grindy. So you could like up and down, up and down, up and down like that, and who knows where the top is. For me, I won't be going long NVIDIA up here, hell no. I mean, it just made a move from here to there. I'm not gonna be going long here. We need some steep decline for me to even consider going long. I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm not even gonna say I'm not even saying I'm gonna sit here and wait around for NVIDIA to see a steep decline. But if it does happen, then maybe I'll be interested. And I think yeah, NVIDIA fanboys are gonna be really mad at me now. 120. 120 will be a good place. 120, 100 will be a good place to retest. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but if it does, yeah, I wouldn't mind going long somewhere at that level. I mean, probably not gonna happen. It's probably not gonna happen. But this is not a place for me in my time frame to start, you know, accumulating position. I mean, if you're really, really short term, you know, you're like short term swing trader, then maybe this is a good level for you, like that. Place your stop right there, you know, and then your target is right here. I mean, that's not a bad strategy. I just don't like that strategy. You know, I mean, that's what I used to, you know, a lot of people trade that way, don't you? So you said, okay, you got support there, we're above all the moving averages, right? So you go along right here, you place your stop maybe right there, and then your target is right there. That's what most people do. And it's great when it plays out. I mean, you know, if you're doing well through it, that's great. But man, it just, market just so savvy. Like it will come down, take your stop, and just goes right back up, or go up, and then before you hit your target, it come down, take your stop, and goes even further. And stuff like that just irritates the hell out of me when I used to swing trade. So I don't do that. I haven't done that in a while now. So for position trading like I do, none of these levels gonna work for me. So that's everything for me. Yeah, let's see how it plays out, and we'll go from there. So, well, you guys have a wonderful weekend, and good luck trading next week.